You look into the face of a newborn. You search for something familiar. Your mother's eyes. Your father's chin. You are doing something your ancestors did for hundreds of thousands of years. No tests, no laboratories, just instinct and a glance. But the real answer to how humans actually determine bloodlines is far stranger than a simple look at a face. Today, you just need a cotton swab and a few weeks of waiting. A DNA test tells you the truth with cold, exact precision. But for more than 99% of human history, no such tool existed. No lab, no microscope. So how did people know who was whose child? How did a tribe know who inherited what, who cared for whom, who was kin and who was not? The answer isn't found in science. It's found in something far more complicated: society itself. Start with an uncomfortable fact. For most of human evolutionary history, a man could never be 100% certain that the child in front of him was biologically his. Evolutionary biologists call this paternity uncertainty. A mother always knows the child is hers because she carried it and gave birth to it. A father never has that same biological certainty, and this single fact has shaped nearly every social structure humans have ever built. Sounds abstract? Look at one concrete example. Anthropologist Bronisław Malinowski, studying the Trobriand Islanders in the early 20th century, made a startling discovery. The Trobrianders did not believe men played a biological role in creating a child at all. They believed ancestral spirits entered a woman's body to create new life. To them, the biological father was almost irrelevant. So who raised the child? Who passed down property, status, power? The answer was the mother's brother, not her husband. This is called a matrilineal system. Descent runs through the mother's line because that's the only line you can ever be certain about. You always know who your mother is. You are never fully certain who your biological father is. So many ancient societies solved the problem by simply removing that uncertainty from the equation entirely. But not every society took this path. Many cultures went the opposite direction. They built enormous social systems whose entire purpose was to guarantee paternity, even without any scientific way to verify it. Anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss, who spent his career studying kinship structures across the world, realized that human kinship is almost never pure biology. In his landmark work on the elementary structures of kinship, he argued that lineage is a system that gets constructed, negotiated, and enforced through rules, ritual, and language, not simply handed down through blood. What does that mean in practice? It means ancient societies invented countless ways to verify bloodlines without a single drop of blood ever being tested. Marriage was the first and most powerful tool. When a society tied marriage to strict, tightly enforced rules about who could sleep with whom, it was creating a kind of social certification for lineage. If a woman had contact with only one man during the window when conception was possible, the community could confidently assign the child to that man with zero biological proof required. Names were a second tool. Many ancient cultures used surnames, clan names, or special titles as a public declaration of bloodline. The name itself became a kind of certificate, one the entire community recognized and enforced. Ritual was a third tool. Naming ceremonies, coming-of-age rites, inheritance rituals, all of these were public moments where the community formally confirmed, this is this person's child, this is this clan's heir. Once the whole community had witnessed and acknowledged it, lineage became a social fact, whether or not it perfectly matched the biological one. You might assume this was all naive belief from a less sophisticated past, but a modern study reveals exactly why this system worked so well. Anthropologist Napoleon Chagnon spent years living among the Yanomamo in the Amazon rainforest, compiling one of the most detailed genealogical datasets ever recorded in a society without writing. He found the Yanomamö used an extraordinarily complex and precise kinship terminology, distinguishing clearly between paternal and maternal cousins, between generations, between different clan branches, all memorized and passed down orally across generations with no written record at all. What's remarkable is how accurate this collective memory turned out to be. When later generations recounted their ancestral lineages, those accounts often matched independent records with striking consistency. The human brain, it turns out, is extremely well equipped to track complex social networks even with zero record-keeping tools available. This is the point worth sitting with. Humans didn't determine bloodlines by examining DNA. Humans determined bloodlines by building and memorizing a massive social network reinforced by language, ritual, marriage, and collective memory. But what about cases that demanded higher stakes precision? When a throne, land, or enormous power depended on getting the answer right. This is where ancient societies got genuinely inventive. In many civilizations, kings and queens were monitored with extreme scrutiny during pregnancy and childbirth, surrounded by witnesses whose entire job was to eliminate any possibility of doubt or substitution. Some royal traditions required a woman to give birth in front of multiple officials simultaneously. This wasn't eccentricity. It was a paternity verification system, just one that used human witnesses instead of technology. In other places, physical trials or sacred oaths were used to prove bloodline or loyalty to a clan. These rituals look bizarre through a modern lens, but their function was entirely logical. When there's no way to check an objective truth, a society manufactures an agreed-upon truth instead, one everyone must respect because the social consequences of breaking it are severe enough to matter. And here's what makes this whole story even more interesting. Even today, decades after DNA testing became widely available, most people on Earth still don't use it to confirm paternity in everyday life. You trust your family not because you've tested everyone's blood. You trust them because you grew up alongside them, because the society around you recognizes that relationship, because your father's name is printed on your birth certificate. In other words, the system your ancestors invented tens of thousands of years ago, a system built on marriage, naming, ritual, and collective memory, is still running quietly underneath your own life today. Technology is just a new layer wrapped around a social structure that existed long before any laboratory ever did. So the next time you look into a child's face searching for something familiar, remember, you are not simply running a biological comparison. You're taking part in a social ritual older than writing itself, one your ancestors perfected over hundreds of thousands of years, not with science, but with memory, trust, and humanity's own capacity to hold each other close. The more we learn about the past, the better we understand ourselves. If this video sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Phoenix Primeval for more fascinating stories from history, science, and human evolution. Thanks for watching.